What is up, y'all? We are looking at what's going on Instagram, trying to learn some things about swimming, learn some things about coaching, being an athlete, mentality, and life. And I mean, y'all know what time it is. Let's just jump straight into it. So this first video is on Shohei Ohtani. I believe that's how you say his name. And it's about technique. So I guess he has made this technique from this high lift that you see here to basically like tiptoeing, right? And now the reason they said they did this is because to give him more time to focus on his swing instead of by the time his foot taps the ground, he has like a small window to actually be a batter. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this piece, right? So that's where he started. He lifts up and then you're placed down. So in swimming, this is technique. This is exactly how technique works. Let me see. I think you draw some more, right? So you have a technique that the swimmer is doing, and let's just say a high elbow recovery, right? And we see the arm come over, and we see the hand go down into the water, and it looks like a simple enough movement, right? A lot of times what we see is this net difference going from this first circle on the ground to the next circle that's in front of the plate. But really, trying to stay on theme, the mistake, it may look clean, but we have a whole nother vertical backwards motion going on in the technique that shows that the total net value is greater, right? So we may have, a math equation. I always use math because, math is absolute. You can go from 0 to -2, right? That could be the equation. 0 minus 2 equals -2. But when we look at this, we see 0 minus -5 plus 3 equals -2, right? So you may think, we just have a -2 we need to fix, but really it's a whole lot of extra stuff, right? You got to fix the +5, you got to fix the -3, and then you got to add in the -2, right? To get the correct equation. So you can have one thing that looks like a clean math equation, but really the stroke technique is not at all clean. It is a bunch of pieces that at their net end, like you see here, looks like that small improvement, that small step, but clearly a lot more is going on. And it goes the same way the other way with making solutions. Like we may have an early vertical form and it looks like this clean movement, but really it may have the same type of displacement of motor skills where there's more going on than meets the eye, right? So here in this specific case with Shohei, you can see how they changed it to this tippy toe thing, and the net is the same, but they eliminated all those other things. And as a result, he is batting much more proficiently because his foot contact is on the ground longer and he has more time to look for the ball, right? Whereas before, by the time he plants his foot, the ball's over the plate, right? So that's what we're trying to be about with our Rakeley Technique Solutions. Is just this, like understanding what we're seeing, and is it one motion? Are we looking at many motions that are creating a problem? And then are we looking at many motions that are creating the solution that we need? And it's both, right? And that's honestly what separates us from, from everybody, is we're willing to spend that extra time figuring this stuff out. And a lot of people don't. And the results speak for themselves. So let's jump into our next video. So this is one. So David Arluck, shout out to Fitter Faster Swim Tour. I don't have any beef with anybody. I just have my critiques, and if people want to get upset, they can get upset. We can talk it out. We can mash it out, whatever you want to do. And my take on all this right now, obviously everybody's against the enhanced games, which is fair, right? I can see how people can say it's sending the wrong message. I think that means parents and coaches need to do their job and make sure they understand what's going on, that, hey, these guys have decided they're never going to compete for their home countries again. And you need to tell them the other side, where they want to be paid by their national bodies, and they're doing this because they weren't paid by their national bodies, and now they want their fair, they want their pound of flesh. I think that's a totally fair thing, and it needs to be said, but to withhold that information is just disingenuous, right? It's completely disingenuous. But anyway, so, I had a nice little viral story, I guess you could call it, a lot of likes on it, a lot of DMs from it, people saying that they liked my points, and I think the main one is like everybody who's attacking these individuals. He says it's not about attacking these individuals. You can see that down there at the bottom. Let's see if this shows up. Yeah, it didn't show up. I thought if I highlight, because you can't see my mouse on the screen. Challenging the reason behind these choices, the idea that somehow empowerment or self-care, it's not. Real empowerment is building something that lasts. No, real empowerment, I disagree completely on that. It's empowerment is taking things into your own hands, right? When we think about like, just a common theme now, right? Women's rights, right? Empowerment is having your own agency to make your own decisions and, and ideally your own consequences, right? And I think the consequences that they accepted was one, people are, on their ass about things, but, having to denounce competing for their country or competing on the international stage ever again, right? Like that's a consequence to their actions. And the benefits are, nice. Allegedly, they make $100,000 to $200,000 just to work out. Not even before if they break the world record $1 million bonus, right? And I think the thing that we have to remember about this, the enhanced games, is like this goes kind of into my my story on Instagram, is that people could have paid these athletes, right? Like Fitter Faster is a very successful brand, very successful business, didn't pay anybody to keep them from doing this, right? Could have ponied up their own money and said, hey, we'll sponsor you, don't go do this, right? We care about you, whatever. There's a bunch of companies. SwimSwam, right? SwimSwam, I'm sure they got, a nice little cash flow going on, and I don't think they sponsor any athletes either. So at the end of the day, like a lot of this crying is absolute and total bullshit, guys. And I'm going to give you a firsthand story. So when I started Rakely, right, I was broke as hell. Like I had no income at all. Living with my girlfriend, I was down bad. I was down all the way bad. And I remember I made a GoFundMe, right? And now keep in mind, and this is not to diss anybody at all, not at all. And I was, between her and that, I broke up with her, and then I was couch surfing, homeless. And I'll never forget this. I made a GoFundMe, and I'd say 90% of the people that were like, hey, you can do it, being encouraging, didn't donate to it. Not even $10, $5, not even $1, right? And it was kind of a coming to Jesus money where it was they really don't care, right? And shout out to Hotep Jesus. He told me this. He's like, when people care about something, they cut the check. And it was kind of a moment where it's and I don't fault them. It's their money. They get to decide what they want to do with their money. I don't get to be that selfish dickhead to decide what they do with their money, right? But it was just kind of like I said, this is not dissing anybody, but it was a huge wake-up call that I don't know if you're not as supported as you think you are, or you're not as important as you think you are, or you're going to have to do this. Like people are coming to save you. I can't think of the exact phrase, but basically people really don't care the way that you think they care. They care the way they think they care, and they want to care. And that's their prerogative, right? I don't get to be upset because I can't control somebody to make them do what I think is appropriate. No. And I never forget this kid. I remember I was kind of not really friends with him, but we weren't enemies, but I wasn't tied with him at all, at all. I can't remember his name, and he sent me $100 on that, and I was just like, wow, this guy that maybe the closest I was with him ever as a friend was second grade, right? And I'm 30 now, and he's donating me money. It was wild. I was like, I cannot believe he just did this. Shout out to Miss Kuhn. She donated money. My favorite teacher of all time, GOAT teacher. A huge part of me being who I am and looking past things or looking past the okie doke, I should say. She donated, but yeah, it was an interesting thing. And when I see this, I'm sure some of them maybe were hoping that somebody would be like, hey, I'll pay, don't join the enhanced games, right? But it didn't happen. And it's kind of I think sombering or sobering, I forget the correct word, maybe it's both, but it's a sombering experience to realize oh man, all these people who were cheering for me, when push comes to shove and my mortal future in the sport is at risk, nobody does anything, nobody steps up, right? And then it really drives your conviction. Well, it's whoa, shit, you guys didn't really care. I'm definitely going to do what I need to do for my best interest, right? So it's just super interesting. So anyway, let's keep it pushing on. Sorry guys, I gotta make sure that all my stuff shows up correctly. Oh, that was interesting. I have to cite my sources. All right, I love this one. So this video, this is the current Utah head coach for football. And we're going to talk about girls on this one, specifically like a wife or a really good girlfriend. So he didn't believe that he was going to get this job, but his wife was like, no, you can. Like, you love BYU. And she basically pulls out a folder, like you said, and starts to drill him, ask him questions about the job as if she is the athletic director. And he goes into the meeting, like he says right here, and the guy starts asking questions that his wife had asked him, and to the point where he's like, okay, there has to be some insider trading going on. And he ends up getting the job. But I think like the thing I love about this is two things, right? We're going to talk about girls, but we're going to talk about the self-belief side. Is self-belief it's a dream killer, or not having self-belief. Like, you have to at some point get to the point where you're irrational and in your self-belief in your own competency, right? And you're also willing to fail, right? Because if you're going to believe like that, you're probably, and you have no reason to believe it. Like when I get to UT, I don't have any national championships, right? I'm from a small team where we're doing 50s and 25s all day. I'm only going to 7 hours of practice a week because of basketball games and basketball practice. I have no reason to believe that I'm about to go into this high yardage program and become an NCAA champion, right? And the first year I actually get sick, right? So, but I knew like what I wanted to do, and I had that irrational confidence. Like, we're not going to go into the full where it's from, but I knew that I could do it, and I did it, right? And I think that like to fully believe something, it's hard to do, like, because it's got to be in every. It can't be like I'm just saying it. Although faking it till you make it is definitely a great way to go about it. But and it's not faking it till you make it, because if you're that person when you fake it, and then you make it, you were that person back when you were faking it. But I digress. But it's just irrational overconfidence it's like your future self beaming back into the current you, right? And it just looks irrational and overconfident because you don't have the success now. But if I told you, hey, if you were going to work at this for another 10 years, just as hard as you could, and I guarantee you're going to make $10 million, your confidence in yourself would instantly change if you knew it was a guarantee, right? And that's the only thing about irrational. That's why I say irrational overconfidence, because really the only reason you're not that is because it's not guaranteed. But it is. It's a waiting game, right? If you work for that, eventually things are going to fall in place, especially if you know what you're doing, know what you're talking about. This brings me to the final point before we talk about the girl side of it, is that every failure I've had in my life came from, or let's say outside of athletic stuff where I had a physical body that I could manipulate to achieve, right? But anything intellectual where I couldn't physically manipulate has come from a lack of confidence, right? Where I had done the research and I'm a very, ADD, autistic person about like just knowing every detail, the counters to the counters to the counters to the non-counters counters. Like, I want every detail. And if I know every detail and I walk into a situation and I'm not confident, it doesn't make any sense when you think about it. And, some of it's tricking yourself, like I'm revealing to y'all now, right? If I know all the answers to the test, why am I unsure of my future? You see what I mean? So, and I tell that to the kids I work with, the last team I was on, I was like, and even the emails to the parents, I was like, being the best is an information game. It's not a talent thing. It's information. Because a lot of people work hard but just don't have the right information. Like, that's what Rakely is for, right? To make sure everybody has the right information so they're not just working hard and learning that, if I work hard, I'm not going to get what I want in life. Like, no, we want to make sure you have the proper tools so that when you work hard, you actually get, the reward, the feedback in the right way, the positive feedback loop from your hard work, right? That's the type of people we want to mold and create. And that's the type of thing that builds irrational overconfidence, that allows you to be successful in life, where, you know, swimming, it's physical and it's mental, but now you remove the physical constraints where your body's even like wearing on your mental, like now you're a superstar in the normal world. So the second piece, fellas, there is nothing like having a good woman in your corner. Okay, one, you're gonna save a lot of money because you're not going out, not hollering at people, not going on dates. But, you know, I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but just their willingness to, and like I said, a good woman, not just some Tatiana, but their willingness to like follow you down the fire chute is, let me use myself as an example. Like, I hate letting people down. So it's like when somebody believes in me like that, it like pushes me to be better. Right. So, and I think that's true of most men, or just even a teammate, right? Like when I know for sure, like when my teammates, you know, put their faith in me, like failure is not an option. Like, you're going to drag me out of here on a medical bed, but, or them, or the person I'm going against. Right. So, but it's like, they see things, you know, double dose of intuition, that double X chromosome. They have an insight and a sensation and a premonition about things that we're not attuned to. And when you have the right information, they are always right. Right. When, like, so what I mean by that, like, some of y'all chill out. Like in this situation where he's going for this job, like they both knew that he knows everything about BYU, right? So if he knows everything about BYU, she can tap all the way in and get him what he needs, right? If he doesn't have the right information, her instincts are kind of shooting at the dark, and it might feel on the wrong thing. But if you narrow that list down through your own information as a guy, and then you give her that, you know, 3 or 2 or 1 thing, and let her, you know, put that double X chromosome on it. Winning combination, dude. Man and woman. Winning combination. Logic plus the feelings, that instinct, the double X chromosome instinct, hard to beat. Hard to beat. All right, guys. So that is it for this episode. Make sure that you tune in on Friday. That's when we're going to do the second video series on YouTube that we're looking at, and I will catch y'all later. Make sure you drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the content. Leave a like, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you can get notified whenever we upload a new video. Peace.